Halloween media is fairly different from most sorts of media. The best I can explain it is that Halloween media just doesn't seem like it's built to last, because we're constantly updating what we want the season to be about as we continue to age and as the world continues to change. Halloween specials come and go faster than my co-producer's ex-boyfriends. So sometimes we look over our shoulders and feel a tiny bit embarrassed for what we had once been a part of. Sort of like my co-producer when he looks back at all of his ex-boyfriends. Scary Godmother, everybody.
Ah, nostalgia. Cartoon Network, the king of the seasonal special. Put the shit on, boom, there's a cartoon, and it's going, and it's shit, man. Good shit, top class. Why can't children's programming just go back in time and stick around 2002 and 2004, back when I didn't understand how years or time worked? Look at all the shit content they got on Cartoon Network now! Who cares about boring stuff like all these universe shows? Man, those shows weren't on TV when I was a kid. I grew up with amazing shows, like Rocket Power, and that show with the puppets who cook meat. And every All Hallows Eve, I would look very forwards to sitting down and watching whatever Cartoon Network told me to. Oh, what's this? It's like a Star Trek thing? Oh, there's ghosts! Oh, spooky. Oh, wow, look at that moon. I bet you they modeled that after a potato they found around the office. Ooh, even the opening credits want out of this one. Oh, wowzers, people, look at those walk cycles. These characters don't even move as a reaction to their feet pushing against the ground. They just glide forwards regardless as their body just goes through the motions. Look at this woman's legs! She moves like one of those super stretchy dolls from the 40s. So this is Daryl, who is running to meet up with Katie. The crew have arranged to meet up at that cemetery every town has where the tombstones have no names.
Got enough room in your trunk for all the candy we'll get? I said, do you have... Roll down the window.
That's not how car windows work. You're supposed to crank it from the inside. You just pushed your hand through a sheet of glass. Get to a hospital immediately.
Right on.
The team join up with Jimmy, Satan incarnate, who has been forced to bring his cousin in order to appease his parents. If you haven't figured out yet, his cousin is the main character. You can tell because she's the only one with eyes. There's something about the beady appearance of the rest of the characters that makes me uneasy. I think it's that the eyes are definitely just attached to one part of the face, so when they look around you can see the skin twitching and pulling itself. And when they blink or look down, their faces sort of like tear pieces off and push down clumps of skin and muscle just to cover up the eye sockets.
Flashback? Flashback. Hit it!
I didn't consent to this.
She'll be with Jimmy and his friends. They're very responsible. Especially that Katie. She's got a good head on her shoulders.
I feel like I'm watching something right now that I really shouldn't have been a part of.
Don't worry, Pumpkin. Daryl will protect you from the monsters.
Monsters!
Here you go, honey. Monsters can't stand flashlights.
That was a lot like it happened.
Hey, I get to be in the next flashback.
You know what? It's all coming back to me now. Now I remember doing this when I was a kid. I remember sitting down with my friends and recapping a story in some sort of Mad Lib style, going through it word by word, and, going through the ranks so we can get an answer to this question. That really could have been answered in a simple, short, sentence, such as, I'm a moronic child, and I think that flashlights will stop monsters. Not only that, I remember specifically us all getting together and comprehending the story just so we could act it out anyways, for no apparent reason, for no apparent audience, just for the hell of it. I mean, by gods, that was every Saturday.
So Jimmy has a spooky plan to scare Hannah so badly that she has to go home and they can get even more candy. Not sure how they think this works. It's not like houses have like a certain amount of candy that they give to each group of kids and they have to mathematically divide that into even portions. Y'all just get a handful. Calm down, kid. Doing all this stuff where you're gonna scare your cousin with an elaborate plan and then you're probably gonna have to take her home because she won't go home herself. All this means is you're gonna have way less time to actually go trick-or-treating. The kids get Hannah to go inside the spooky funeral house and tell her creepy stories about the horrible monsters that live inside.
Why are cartoon characters so amazing at shadow puppets? I mean, as a kid, I could never figure out how to do these kind of tricks, and I loved shadow puppets, trust me. I mean, how do you do that one thing where, like, your entire hand detaches from the wrist and sort of floats in the middle so that there is no edge to the shadow? I'm actually kind of curious.
The kids trick the girl into throwing candy into the house's basement before locking her inside so she can have a complete mental breakdown. This is enough for the ritual spook sacrifice as the scary godmother rises from the floor to defend the child's honor. Such a juxtaposition between that shot and those tears. The scary godmother is an interesting character. How would I describe her? Imagine if Tim Burton directed a reboot of The Magic School Bus. So the scary godmother apparently appears whenever her assigned child is scared or having some sort of fear or something. Since Hannah is clearly riddled with crippling anxiety, it's absolutely shocking that this is the first time that Hannah's scary godmother has been summoned. When the scary godmother learns that Hannah is in fact scared of monsters, she takes her away to her Halloween pocket dimension, where she plans to show her that monsters are in fact pretty okay.
Scully?
That's Scully, Scary Godmother's literal skeleton in the closet, a pun that takes on two meanings once you hear his voice.
Oh my, Scary Godmother! Sorry to be so late, but I just had to get these old bones bleached for the party.
So Hannah apparently has chosen the perfect night to disrupt the life of her fairy godmother for the first time, since apparently every year Miss Frizzle-Ma Dizzle sets out to make a gigantic Halloween party to entertain her many friends. And the rest of the movie, other than some odd cutaways, is dedicated almost entirely to what I can only describe as an awkward adult party. You know the sort, where you plan to have some friends over to hang out and catch up, but there's not really anything to talk about, and you haven't set up much to do, you don't have a movie or anything, so the whole lot of you just stand around and eat some of the snacks that you bought the night before, and you try and be polite to each other. Yeah, it's one of those, but they're like a lot of Halloween puns. That's the movie.
Can I get you a drink? Thank you. Bloody Mary. Oh, the Mary.
The first guest that arrives after Scully is named Harry. He is the physical embodiment of this concept. Harry is the friend that no one really likes, the one that ruins most interactions, and also the one that everyone tries to be passively aggressively mean to without breaking his spirit totally. He's a weeaboo, he's a slouch, and the host has to hide the snacks from him because he has a habit of impulsively eating everything in front of him. And of course, he has a complete compulsion to consume every conversation that he is a part of with nonsense that no one really cares about.
Here's a treat that's fun to make and helps you get a word in edgewise. Take two of your favorite crackers, spread one with jam, one with peanut butter, mush them together, and jam them into the mouth of the chattering werewolf. Voila!
Hey, I don't know if you're interested in taking that recipe up to the next level, but if you really want that to work, you should consider adding just a tiny bit of chocolate to the mix.
Then, the old-fashioned family shows up. They have a nerdy, unpopular kid who is only like that because of how they raised him, and the two kids at the party spend most of the day running around going through all the pantries as if they live in the house, while one of them acts uncomfortably close to what could only be described as a xenophobic innocence, which causes most of the people at the party to feel extremely uncomfortable, while the person of target seems to take it pretty alright, surprisingly.
I don't care what kind of monster he is. Keep him away from me. He's big and mean and scary looking.
Seriously, the interactions of this kid with the other monsters makes me feel so bad for them having to deal with this little snot-nosed brat who knows nothing about them or how they live their lives. Holy shit, are you guys still laughing about this? It's been hours! Halloween's over! You lost your chance to get any candy! Jesus Christ!
You know, if you pick first, then you won't need to trade with me all the time.
I like trading with you, Daryl.
I ship it.
Oh, and Miss Shoeless Joe for 3 kisses.
Oh!
Come here, man.
I'll suck your dick for a pack of M&Ms.
Harry lands on the snack table and smears his fat ass all over the food, essentially destroying whatever excuse there is to have a boring adult party.
Seriously, the only reason I ever go to any parties? The pretzel bowl. Remember guys, if you want to throw one dink-ass hell of a party, you only need two things. Bitches and pretzels.
The team decides that they really need to do something extreme to save the party, and really bring this up to the next level.
Pizza! Pizza!
Pizza.
Pizza!
Their party sucks, so they've decided to order pizza. This is getting depressingly real in terms of how these parties always go. And then they argue over the toppings.
Get a Belfry Mano special. Half O positive, half AB negative.
Make sure there's extra cheese.
Why would I want to spend 47 minutes reliving the worst experiences of my entire life, but with skeleton buns added?
Pizza is a groovy idea?
Groovy?
I know, they're so embarrassing, I could just live.
These jokes are so bad that at some point they just loop back around to being hilarious again. Then they get the pizza. They eat the pizza, and the party goes back to being pretty much terrible and super awkward.
So other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how did you enjoy the show?
But soon enough, Hannah's Stockholm Syndrome starts to wear off, and she realizes that she has to get back to Jimmy and his friends. When she mentions this, Bugaboo finally connects the dots.
It's the same Jimmy that's on my route. I scare him silly every other Thursday.
You torment children every other week. You torment growing, developing minds twice a month, and that's your job. You reveal yourselves to them. Prove to them that you exist, but only reveal yourself to them, so that everyone can think they're crazy, leaving years of psychological damage. And that's your actual job. That's actually what you do. Why are we not supposed to be scared of him? He's exactly what we always thought he was. You might as well take Hannah to a party full of axe murderers, and they're all like, "Oh, we kill kids, but I'm gonna be nice to you because I like you."
Since I'm under kids' beds, I know all the things they're afraid of.
Hannah, where is Jimmy now? I think it's time we taught those big kids a lesson.
We're gonna torment some fucking kids. We're gonna push them right over the fucking edge. They're gonna give up on life after we're done with them.
Candy!
This isn't something we should encourage. This is very wrong.
So just as the kids believe that they are at the end of their rope, Hannah comes in with her magic flashlight and saves the day by killing all of the monsters.
But it's all some good old fun and pretend just to teach those ratty kids a lesson. Except for Harry. Harry's actually dead. He's not in the sequel.
And you could have it all.
At the end, the scary godmother gives Hannah a magical key that will turn any door, even doors of cupboards, into magical entrances into their world.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Scary Godmother.
This might sound a little odd, but growing up I actually never saw that special. Instead, I would always consistently catch the sequel, Scary Godmother 2, The Revenge of Jimmy. When I was a child, this was a movie about a kid that wants to finally get revenge on Halloween and defeat it and ruin it once and for all. As an adult, it's a movie about a teenager with PTSD desperately crying for help to anyone that will even listen, only to be shut down by a world that just doesn't care about his problems.
Since the events of Part 1, Jimmy has spent, apparently, an entire year being totally convinced that the monsters who attacked him and his friends were totally real. And he has spent that time being a nervous wreck about the fact that there are awful mutations in existence within the multiverse that want to find and attack him on a bi-monthly schedule. Apparently the incident was so traumatic that it made his balls undrop.
Oh, this is Daryl. He's a piece of candy.
I figure monsters are dumber than you, and since you fell for it.
To avoid being attacked by monsters, he's completely destroyed his bed, thrown away all of his clothes so there won't be anything in his closet, and he stopped showering, of course.
Wow. Jimmy must have very, very neglectful parents that really don't give a shit about him at all. It all starts to come together a little bit.
Apparently everyone but Jimmy has become totally comfortable with the obvious lie that all of the monsters who attacked them the year before had been nothing more than college students playing an elaborate prank, and the 3 other kids have become quite palsy with Hannah, who they have planned a huge Halloween night with. Jimmy, believing that Halloween is what gives the monsters strength and power, orders his team to boycott the night so he can kill his enemies once and for all.
You're either with me or against me.
Either you are with us, or you are with the terrorists.
Obviously, the kids decide to bail on Jimmy forever and go hang out with Hannah, who apparently in the last year has made a big deal of hanging out in the Spookverse whenever she gets the chance.
You think we're missing out on any potential trans-seasonal Scary Godmother specials? A Thanksgiving movie where she has a gigantic feast and everything seems to go wrong? A Valentine's movie where she has to figure out which of the monsters is her secret admirer? A Christmas movie where she kills Santa?
The 3D models and animation have taken quite the overhaul since the first special. The eyes suddenly are made to work better than they had before, the character models feel a little more balanced and multifaceted, and perhaps most importantly in my eyes, Scary Godmother now consistently flies, which looks kinda neat.
So in the past year, apparently Scary Godmother's gotten a pay raise. She now is the spirit of Halloween and controls everything about it. Cool.
Could you imagine anyone not loving Halloween?
I hate Halloween.
Hey, there he is, our little buddy. How's he doing, eh? Spaghetti night, your favorite, come on.
Oh no!
Go ahead. Eat me, Jimmy. Then on Halloween, I get to eat you.
Is this actually happening, or is he having a psychotic meltdown?
You won't eat me!
I think he's having a psychotic meltdown. This isn't really funny to me. I don't know why.
We're all going to get pumpkins tomorrow.
Gotcha!
Oh, you see, now I feel better. Now I've completely forgotten about the fact that Jimmy just had a full-on rage-induced psychological meltdown and his parents completely ignored it, knowing that something bad just happened.
Hannah's revelation that she's going to the pumpkin fields to hunt for porch decorations gives Jimmy an idea, as he goes to the pumpkin patch in their town and begins smashing all of the pumpkins to destroy Halloween.
Most of the people watching this have like a mysterious pumpkin patch that materializes out of thin air every year, right? Like over here it's Boy's Orchard. You realize those are ginormous operations, right? Like far more pumpkins than they could possibly sell. In one field that close to Halloween, there's got to be 300 to 1,000 pumpkins at least. And pumpkins aren't easy to kick through. And this kid he's kicking through pumpkins and he's getting to the end of it. He's doing it. He isn't stopping.
Look at that! He has a limp! He injured himself doing this, and he still kept going. He finished it. This kid isn't evil. He needs someone to care about him for once in his life, for 10 minutes at least.
Smashed all the pumpkins.
But without jack-o'-lanterns, we can't have Halloween.
Why? No, seriously, why? When you're a kid, Halloween's about getting candy and dressing up. Jack-o'-lanterns are like the cool thing you do a week before Halloween, but if your parents forget to do it one year, it's not like you get too upset. That's a subjective thing. This was for me. Whenever we forgot to do jack-o'-lanterns, I understood. Because as long as I still got candy, as long as I still went trick-or-treating, I was fine with it. But this one thing apparently is a big problem, to the point that these kids can't do Halloween because they can't put jack-o'-lanterns on their porch for other people to admire. So at this point, apparently, the causality of the foundations of the reality of Halloween itself just ceases to exist.
We can't have Halloween.
Our brilliant little Hannah Marie, luckily, is able to figure out how to use the pumpkins anyways by simply considering the hole of mouth.
It's not broken. Someone just made the mouth for us.
Yeah, but you realize that a local business is dead, right? Like, it's all good and dandy that the four of you are fine with buying your pumpkins all smashed in and shit. But most people aren't going to want to do that. For one, there are people, that cook with pumpkins. And it's a little immoral to sell those people sneaker pumpkins. And there are people who are going to want to, draw on them with Sharpies and be creative. And there are people who aren't going to want to have big gaping mouths. So sure, Halloween's fixed for 4 people. But yeah, that business is absolutely gone. But I guess this is a good time for the Spookyverse to come back into existence. Because I guess everything's fine now.
Still determined to beat Halloween out of existence, Jimmy is able to piece together a new plan to kill the season for his friends.
Alright, that's an actual criminal offense that you could very easily be caught and prosecuted for.
The other kids show up and realize that the candy has been marked as poisoned and that all of the costumes have been ruined. Not realizing that any seasonal market will have plenty of Halloween spare items waiting to fill in the gaps, they believe that Halloween is ruined.
There's that dramatic music again!
However, Hannah quickly points out that they can still have snacks that aren't candy, because, yeah, whatever. Hey kids, it's Chef Boyardee's Nuts here for a quick and fun trip to your Halloween fun all at one time. You're gonna need a chocolate bar, some marshmallows, graham crackers, and a toothpick. Take your bar of chocolate and break that into several pieces to use later in the recipe. Now, if you're in a situation where candy has been removed from the market and you can't buy any candy, then I guess you're kind of shit out of luck, and this guide isn't any help to you at all. Now take your toothpick and dip it into the chocolate syrup, and pull it out. Make sure not to break it, because then you've wasted some supplies, and the Colonel will get very mad at you. Use the toothpick to paint on a face onto the marshmallow, and then go ahead and put on the graham cracker with the 1 piece of chocolate. Now that you've humanized your product, we're ready to kill it using a tactic outlawed by the Geneva Conventions. Also, fuck it, just smother some shit on top of the head to make it real fucking ugly. Stick your creation into the microwave and set it for about 2 minutes. If you don't have time like that and you'd like to speed up the process, try wrapping it in aluminum foil first. Listen as the beast you've forced into the realm of existence is bloated by the heat, which the human body couldn't live through itself. Imagine it screaming for mercy as its very essence is stretched to a size it was never meant to hold. Take it out of your microwave and chew it up. Gooey! Trying to save the holiday from disintegrating, Hannah suggests that instead of trick-or-treating, they have a party, where they'll serve her treats instead. The obvious location is the Spook House, which used to be inside the cemetery, but whatever, I don't care.
Hey, buddy! You wearing your costume already?
Good to see you have your Halloween spirit back.
Aww, that's cute! They think that him dressing up like the devil all day every day is a sign that he's getting better and not worse.
Oh look, the Witchverse is back to normal. Cool. But the kids show up the next day and the Spook House has in fact been teepeed overnight. And since this is the weakest attack on the spirit of Halloween we've seen yet, it's of course the one that is so bad it makes October the 31st disappear from existence. It's just gone now. No more October the 31st because this one house got teepeed. Oh well, sucks to be us. November now. Let's go on to knockoff films.
Someone point out that it doesn't matter.
I think it's perfect.
Thank you.
So they go to the Halloween party and are met by the monsters, who have somehow changed so much in the past year that they now can coherently throw actual fun parties. Actual is not a literal term in this case, of course. In the real world, a party like this would still feel forced and awkward in an adulty kind of sense. Earlier in the movie, it was set up that every year the vampires force their child to dress up in royal regal gear, much like those of their ancient descendants, to show off their heritage. Spidey Kid hasn't been too pumped about this, so Hannah comes up with a ploy to get the head vampire to finally give it up this year.
Dressing up once a year is something you're not. It's so cool.
Cool?
Orson, he's always a prince of the night, and tonight he's...
A prince of the night.
You realize how bad of an idea that is, right? That's like going up to your religiously specific friend and being all like, "Hey bro, I know that you and your pals were gonna be doing some of that Yom Kippur stuff, but you know that we and all the cool dads have decided that that's just not in this season, man. So the same night, we were gonna have one hip down-low pizza party where all the hip kids were gonna be hanging out and showing off their mojo."
You do know I'm not Jewish, right?
High noon, motherfuckers! And so Scully announces the winner of the best Halloween costume, and it turns out to be Jimmy, who managed to turn up after all. And Jimmy's friends show him the true meaning of Halloween. It's not about fighting monsters or hiding from your fears. It's about candy. Just lots of candy, and you eat it all morning because you're a kid, and no one's going to say that you have self-control issues at that age just because you ate a lot of candy. You can do whatever you want. It's innocence. Just be happy, Jimmy, because one day you're going to be 35 and you're going to be doing the same shit, and everyone's just going to be super mad at you and being like, when are you going to move on with your life? Just celebrate the fact that you're like 12 and you can do whatever the hell you want.
And thus, Jimmy overcame his fears of monsters, Halloween, and sequel films. The Scary Godmother films are pretty alright. These old cartoons, they tend to be a little bit dated, but you could stick them on in front of a kid any other day and they wouldn't be able to tell a difference, and honestly I think it's a little bit charming how things have gotten better over time, but at the same time, they weren't exactly terrible or unwatchable. Now if you'll join me next time, I want to take a look at one more spooktacular treat. One of the most terrifying things ever produced by human hands.